Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of today's guests, including Farhan, standing by, brought to you by Langley Chrysler. Don't miss the game because your car needs servicing. Langley Chrysler will pick up, service, and drop off your car so you don't have to miss the action. Valet service only at langleychrysler.com as we bring in Farhan Lalji from TSN. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, fellas?
Good, good. Our poll question today is, I'll sum it up by asking this. Did you watch games? Would you want to go to a watch party to watch a big game? Now, you usually, with your job, you usually have big games, but would you go to a watch party?
Well, it'd be a lot cheaper, right, than going to the game. And you could probably get a lot of the fan experience, right, in terms of just being around a whole bunch of people that are supporting it the way you are and are passionate about it. So, you know, when I was younger, I probably would have. I can't see myself doing that now. You can barely get me to a game if I'm not covering it.
There you go. You get enough of that, and you do a great job covering big events. Hey, Farhan, has Bruce Boudreau coached his last game as a member of the Vancouver Canucks?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And, you know, you have to believe there's going to be some opportunities for him. You have to believe he's going to feel a little bit slighted by management's approach to his deal. I think he's earned it. And I think when you're management, you talk specifically about structure and exits and things like that, you know, you're criticizing his coaching ability and his coaching approach. So, people have talked about Philadelphia and the proximity to his home and the relationship he's got with Fletcher. I don't know that organization's in a good spot right now. I mean, even Fletcher's job security is kind of up in the air a little bit. It's not nearly a team that's far enough ahead that maybe the Canucks are with players like Quinn Hughes and Pedersen and Demko. I don't know that that's a good situation, but, you know, you see what happens in Toronto. Ultimately, it comes down to who comes to him. If Vegas comes to him and offers him a job, I'd probably take that one, right? So it really depends on what happens. But if I were betting right now, I'd probably bet against him being back in Vancouver.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that much, but Chuck Fletcher and Bruce Boudreau go back to their days together in Minnesota. Chuck now in charge of the Flyers. But Farhan, what did you think of all of that? Jim Rutherford going public with criticism of the zone exits, of the structure, of the dependency on Thatcher Demko.
You know, I'm of two minds, right? Obviously, if you're a coach and to a lesser extent a player, you might feel a little bit thrown under the bus. And I think for an organization for a group of players that are finally starting to feel good about the organization after the changes, that might be an unsettling feeling. But at the same time, I like the fact that they are committed to process. I like the fact that they're committed to a plan and a vision, and they know what needs to be done. They're not fooled by the record, and they want to execute, right? And I think by laying it out there, you're putting yourself in a position as a management group to follow through on some things that need to be improved, right? Anybody who looks at this team and just looks at the record under Boudreau and says that's who they are, without looking at some of the continued flaws on the back end and things like that, I think you'd be naive. So, you know, again, I'm of two minds. I can see how it might impact the players a little bit negatively. I don't think you worry about the fan base at this point because this management team is going to have a lot of runway, given what the last group did. So, but at the same time, I like the fact that they're not fooled by what they've seen to this point, and they're committed to a plan and a vision, which we haven't had since Trevor Linden left.
Okay, Farhan, let's get over to the Lions. All this talk about this band in the opener, you know.
I love it.
You sound like an old man. You sound like me.
Well, hold it a second. Let me get to the point.
This band.
You could not have sounded older just then.
Listen,
honestly.
So true.
I'm not a One Direction fan. I don't really.
Oh, my God.
Hey, if it was One Direction,
that would be a big deal. It's One Republic. Even I know that.
One Republic, buddy.
Okay, let's get this over with. Forget the band. They got to get people in the seats, Farhan.
Hence the band.
Well, the band's going to help. But what do they got to do? Look, I'm going to guess, Farhan, that the season ticket base is still pretty low. Back when Bobby Ackles was here, they had a really –
You are rattled right now.
I'm rattled.
Oh, my goodness, and you're old.
Yeah, and I'm not old. I'm not as old as somebody else. But anyways, let me get to the point. Season ticket base isn't great. Canucks are out. Whitecaps are not doing great. I'm rattled. Anyways, what do they got to do to get more fans in the stadium?
They got to entertain people, right? They've got to put on an
that's
entertaining
it.
product. And Well, look, first of all, getting One Republic there is a good way to get some new fans in the building that you might then be able to entertain during the game and bring them back, right? I mean, people have to know that you're putting on a good product. So this is one way to do that. And this isn't some, hokey Chilliwack band. This is
Hold on here.
This is a current band that some of the young fans that you're trying to attract might actually have heard of and be interested in.
Stop
right?
it.
Look, come on, be real about this. This is the type of act you've got to get to have a few people look up and say, oh, wow, maybe I want to go see that, right? So if they want to come and then you put on an entertaining product week one, you might get them back week two, right? Some of the bands or acts or things like that they've done, which have been the same thing year after year, halftime after halftime, it doesn't change. That's not the solution. Something like this is a great idea.
Hey, don't rip Chilliwack. My Girl was a beautiful song, and Fly at Night, you know that, Donnie. Mm-hmm. Don't rip those guys.
Song long ago.
Yeah,
right.
One Direction covered it, I think.
One Direction is not as good as Chilliwack. I mean, Chilliwack's a whole lot better.
Again,
Anyways,
it's One Republic.
It's One Republic. Canadian quarterback, we had Neil McAvoy on. Are you still okay? Do you feel good that's going to work out, Farhan?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of Nathan Rourke. I have been since his collegiate days. I love what he did there at Ohio, and I love what he did last year, not just in the limited sample size he played in, but just how he performed in practice against the number one defense, just how he improved over the course of the season. I think it's a bet worth making. I really, really do. And like I said, I think if people are debating the Canadian ratio right now. And for me, I want to see Canadians play. I want to see them in skill positions. I do think a ratio adjustment is in order. But that said, I still think we need a meaningful amount of Canadians playing in this league. And I don't want them all to be linemen. I want Nathan Rourke. If he has success, the entire league is going to be excited about a Canadian quarterback. If he has success, it matters. It resonates. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
CFL draft. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
The Lions pick 9 players. Great job of hosting it, and the show was really good. Up against the Stanley Cup playoffs, Farhan, I watched. I was flipping back and forth. But the Lions did take, and we talked about it last week, John Mechie in round 7. What's their thinking there?
Yeah. No chance he comes. I think at the end of it, you just want to throw it out there. So in the event something crazy happens, you've got him. But I also think that in the last 2 rounds, I think you want to take guys that aren't going to be at training camp, as crazy as that sounds, because you've got enough bodies. You know what you've got, from last year's Canadians and what you've got coming in the draft. Usually those guys in those spots aren't close to being able to make a team yet. So I think it solves 2 things, right? I mean, because even the defensive back they took in round 8 from Ottawa is going to go back to school, and then he'll be able to develop a little more and come in next year. And Mechie is just kind of a lottery ticket that you just kind of throw out there and forget about.
We have a text here from Bill Henderson, frontman for Chilliwack.
He's pretty relation to Ryan.
He's pretty upset right now.
Yeah.
You know what happened to me is that I went to the game that Chilliwack played at halftime. Yeah. Against the Lions game.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there, and I tweeted out how great they were, and there were some people like you who told me I was an old man.
Yeah.
Why do I like? They're great. That's why. Anyway,
that's not the band they should be bringing in.
I agree. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I'm not telling you they're a bad band. I'm not telling you they're bad musicians. I'm just saying that is not what you want for a new fan base. Flat out, you and I are going anyway, right? Rick's going anyway, but come on.
Yes, you're bang on.
Ryan, can you play "My Girl" going into the break so Farhan can hear the beauty of that song? I've been gone so long. It's a beautiful song.
I don't even think that song is played on the internet, right? Like
it's on the radio. It's on the radio. I hear it on the radio every day driving to work.
We've got a turntable here.
It's called Canadian. You're listening to.
It's called Canadian Content, my friend. They play it a lot on the radio. It's a beautiful song.
Farhan, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
See you, fellas.